Who are we? Who are we called to be? For so many of us, the focus of our lives is caught up in the concerns about our children, our relationships, the financial debts that can overwhelm our families. Some this past week report that cancer has returned. News that addiction was not overcome. Certainly health issues and the fear of COVID-19. A mother who has to take 2 or 3 buses to get to work. The death of a husband and a father. Individuals furloughed with the current economic situation. So often we are broken. Mental illness and depression and poverty and unemployment, racism and fear, disease, drugs and alcohol, pride and disappointment, anger and hurt. It's so easy for us to become like the 2 on the road to Emmaus today, walking away from their hopes and their dreams, saying within their hearts burning, "We had hoped." Like the 2 on the road, we learn that the road to Emmaus can be anywhere, anytime. When we or those we love are on this sometimes familiar road, we can only look and say, but we had hoped. Our faith tells us that Jesus is walking with us. That's not told to us just to make us feel good, but rather to remind us that Jesus is with us in the most challenging and uncomfortable of times, on our own personal roads. Today, the gospel of God calls us again to change our minds and open the eyes of our hearts and see in a new way. It was so easy 5 or 6 weeks ago, choosing or not choosing to gather here to eat, to break bread. And so often gathering here for some detached, isolated, distant spiritual experience. We have for years been called to break bread and share the bread in this space, but also to break bread and share beyond these walls. Breaking bread is an action, an interaction with others. But we fail when we just allow the breaking of the bread to be a thing. The story of the 2 on the road is about recognizing Christ's presence in our sisters and our brothers who are also on that same road. But remember, it's in the breaking of the bread and the sharing of the bread that Jesus reveals his identity to the 2 in the gospel today. It's in the breaking and the sharing that the 2 in the gospel are able to recognize the one who was with them on the road, but they hadn't seen, they hadn't noticed. We know that Jesus met them when their hearts were broken, grieving a future that would never be, believing that the future was taken away from them in the crucifixion. And they just cry out, but we had hoped. Yes, we are all broken by something, but our brokenness is what makes us human. And a broken humanity is what connects us in the breaking of the bread. The reality is that Jesus meets us where we are. Just as he met Mary Magdalene at the tomb, just as he met Thomas in the upper room, just as he met the 2 on their personal road, walking away from their future dreams. All had hoped. So who are we? Wounded and often broken followers on our own Emmaus road. Who are we called to be? the real presence of Christ. How often have we heard that the crucified, risen, and ascended Christ needs a body in this world? We need to look outside of ourselves. Look outside the walls of this church building. See the stranger, the sick, the broken, the poor. And we need to begin to recognize that when we are the stranger, we can be kinder to strangers. When we are vulnerable and hurting, we can more easily open our hearts to those who are vulnerable and hurting. When we are wounded, we can care for the wounded. We will gather here again. We will break bread together here again. Whether our hearts are broken or we are renewing the possibilities of our dreams and our hopes. And at the end of Mass, we'll be told, go. Go back out on that road. Why? Because the world is where we continue to share the broken bread. Why? Because the world is our parish. God bless you.